love, I'm Adeline.
And I'm Valerie.
And you're listening to the Hey Love podcast.
We know just what it's like to have a queer and woman-owned small business team. After all, we're Hey Love Studio.
Here, we'll be sharing our tips and tricks of what we have learned over a few years running a small business.
Whether it's a marketing strategy or how to get new clients or how to even just treat the clients you already have better, we're going to let you in on all the little secrets that make our team successful.
So join us along while we untap topics to make sure you shine and hype your clients up and pay those bills.
Welcome back to another great podcast here at Hey Love Studio. Today we're going to be talking about those questions that maybe you're too embarrassed to ask your wedding photographer or videographer. And I think we can kind of start with an obvious one. A lot of people are really concerned or scared about asking about price. At the end of the day, there's a lot of photographers, ourselves included at first, who don't list any price on their website.
In this economy.
So scary. Yeah, in this economy, it makes it really scary. I think especially because we hear so often the wedding industry vendors will hear the word wedding and immediately upcharge you. And for what, right? Like, I'm just asking for something that I would do on a normal day.
Yeah.
Why is it now so much more expensive? And so I think pricing is one of those situations. But we're not just going to talk about pricing. We're going to talk about other questions you might be scared to ask your photographer or videographer. Questions like, hey, do you know how to pose me? Or I'm really insecure or scared about this. Can you help me? What are some other questions you maybe have seen people be almost too shy to ask their photographer?
Pronouns in asking about family dynamics. So we've experienced this very little. I'm usually the one who brings this up. It's family dynamics. It's chosen family. And I think for the queer community, and y'all can say whether you agree or not, it's scary to talk about. It's not a fun thing to talk about, but it's so important to talk about. So that's another thing I think that you should really talk about with your photographer, videographer, or vendor. And if they're not open to talk about it, then they're not the people for you. It's important for people, queer couples or couples in general, to ask photographers, hey, how do you handle different family dynamics? How do you handle someone that's a they, them pronoun? Are you going to respect that? How do you see chosen family? Because as queer photographers, it's so natural for us to accept that chosen family is just family. Like, there's no blurred lines. But I know other photographers, especially ones who are straight, will say chosen family is friends. And they shouldn't belong, for instance, in
the family
formal portraits. And that's why I'm like, I think it's a conversation that every couple should bring up in their consultation with their vendors is, hey, not only are we queer, but we come with other things that is more celebratory. Will you celebrate with us? Will you understand it? Will you be there for us? So that's basically what I meant by pronouns and chosen family and stuff.
Yeah, that's such a great point. So at the end of the day, photography and videography is a service, right?
Yeah.
And most of our clients are hiring us because of who we are and how we align with their values, whether that's because of our queerness or because of our immigration status or our other values and belief systems. A lot of times that's what brings clients to us. But clients may choose a photographer because they love their style, right? Which I think our style is also great, but any case. And sometimes when you choose an artist based on maybe just aesthetics, purely aesthetics,
Yeah.
you may feel concerned or worried, like you said, not only about yourself, but for the family and friends you're inviting. We've also had a lot of blended families reach out to us and be like, hey, we want you to know that our family may not look like what you expect. You know, we've had adoptions or we've had this in our family, and so now we look like this. Is that okay? And I think that obviously indicates that they've been hurt, right?
Yeah.
Somebody told them at some point that wasn't okay, or made them feel other, or made them feel whatever. And so now they bring that baggage and they're afraid, right?
Yeah.
What if I hire a photographer who says something or makes some comment about how my family looks
unusual?
Yeah, exactly. It's like I struggle to even say that word because it's not unusual. It's just your family. So I think that's a great point. Clients need to feel empowered to ask their photographers directly, will you honor my family and friends who use they, them pronouns? Will you honor my family and friends who are gender nonconforming, right?
Yeah.
Or trans or gender queer?
Yeah.
Obviously, that's a big thing we focus on, but will you accept my family who looks different, maybe has a disability or is differently abled? My own father is hearing impaired. He always has been. And that was something we actually mentioned to our photographer and videographer when we got married, because we wanted them to know, like, hey, my dad might not look at the camera because my dad may not hear you say, look at me and smile.
Yeah.
And so we actually helped my photographer come up with an accommodation, which was to physically wave and capture my dad's attention. Hey, Dad, look at the camera. And now it's also something that I do a lot with our families, even if nobody has necessarily told me they're hearing impaired, because even if we're not hearing impaired, we shoot so many people with ADHD.
I am a photographer with ADHD.
And sometimes they just need a couple of reminders to look here, look at the camera.
You've been doing the peekaboo, and it's to adults. And I literally can melt in embarrassment.
Do you not like it? I'm sorry, should I stop?
It's fine. Like,
I try to be silly, like, hey, everybody, look right here.
I'm just like, plus they paid us thousands of dollars. And here's my wife saying to a bunch of 30, 40, 70-year-olds, look here. It's so cute.
The alternative is, I've seen the photographer who, like, yells at people.
Oh, yeah.
And
I'd
is
much
like,
rather
hey,
do that.
I don't know if you heard me, but I told you to look at the camera.
Yeah,
and the
we've
last
experienced
I
that
wanted,
too.
we've been proud when somebody's told us to hush up and smile. So at least I'm trying to be a bit more silly. What are some other questions you think people shouldn't be afraid to ask their photographer?
Timeline questions, planning questions. We've had a lot of couples that book us about a year in advance now. Yay for 2027 couples. And our initial phone call or virtual meeting will be really more about who you are as a couple, talking about what you've planned, but most likely haven't planned a lot. Asking general questions like pricing, how bookings work, do you include engagement sessions? But the big thing is you haven't really done the big day planning yet because it's a year from now. So asking your photographer, hey, what can you help me with timeline-wise? Are you going to be my planner? The answer is no, we're not planners. We are a photo and a video team. Are you going to do my day of coordinating? No. But you should ask those questions so that you can know what your photographer and videographer can do on that day.
Yeah, and I think you just brought up another great question, which is asking how many meetings you can have. It's so funny. We kind of assume clients know they can reach us whenever, however. We're pretty transparent with our phone number, our email, etc. That includes our meetings. If a client wants to meet with us, it was so cute. We had a wedding. We were talking to them just the other day about booking process. We said, hey, yeah, so you don't need to have all the answers right now. Like you just said, you don't have all the answers right now. I was like, do you know your venue? Have you figured that out? Because that's really like one of the biggest things.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, we don't know. And we said, well, don't stress. We are going to meet with you a month before the wedding. And they said, what about halfway? What if we met in 6 months? Can we talk then? And we said, oh my God, of course. Like, you'll have our link. Just sign up for a time.
Yeah, for free, we're there.
Yeah, and those meetings are really important because it gives you, especially, I say this all the time, but like a lot of our couples, this is their first time getting married. And we've had the pleasure of being at like 10 to 20 weddings a year. At this point, we've seen and done a lot. So we do have a little bit of expertise and guidance that we can give, and we're happy to give. But yes, we do not do day of coordinating when we're trying to take your photos and your videos.
Just quickly slid in there, ask them for their insurance, ask them what is their data recovery, ask them how they handle with your files. And the bigger conversation these days are AI usage. Ask about AI usage. If they generate new photos from scratch using AI, I would say run. But unfortunately, AI is everywhere. So just make sure that you feel comfortable with the way that you use AI.
So after I do culling, after I do general editing, then I start into the retouching. And the retouching is where we start to talk about like AI being used more seriously. So the big thing is I try to limit my AI usage, and that's mostly because I think that AI is still doing a pretty shitty job at creating photos. It never ceases to amaze me how absolutely terrible it looks. And that's because AI, what it's really doing is trying to guess what pixels should go where. And AI doesn't really quite yet understand what it's looking at. It just understands, does it look like what it looks like in the pixels next to it, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And so there are some instances where it's okay, but a lot of times it's not. And so what I end up doing is either in Lightroom or in Photoshop, really digging in and actually copying and basically cutting and pasting pixels to where they need to go. And then from there, adjusting those pixels brighter, darker, more or less saturated in order to make it blend more seamlessly. And occasionally then that's where I'll then grab AI to kind of seamlessly blend those layers together, because in those cases, now I'm fine if AI is guessing what pixels go there because I've already put most of the pixels in place. But what we don't typically do is like generate things.
Yeah.
Or completely, cut a person and put them in a new background. Happens on occasion, but it's pretty rare and almost never done for a wedding or a big event. We'll see that sometimes with studio work. And the big reason with that is that we want these photos to be a documentary moment of what actually happened at your wedding. We're not the photographers and videographers who want to recreate fake moments, right? That's not what our goal is. So then after I do my cleaning up of the images is kind of what I refer to it, and that's when I'm removing things like exit signs, light switches, those kinds of things. Then I do use an AI software called eVoto. And I know that eVoto is controversial because they kind of carry out this whole AI generative image thing that really pissed off a lot of photographers because photographers are the ones who use eVoto. So
they were like, look, here's something.
Yeah, they're like, photographers, here's something that could ruin your, take your jobs, ruin your industry. And photographers are like, we hate this. And then eVoto was like, oh shit, we didn't think you would hate it.
I mean, reversing it, it's deleted.
But we use it specifically for 2, maybe 3 big things. And
I'm still a big fan.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We wear our eVoto branded stuff. We love it. But the big thing is glasses flare. Lens reflections is a 2-second fix in eVoto. Whereas if I'm to Photoshop fix that, it's going to be a lot more time consuming and therefore.
And sometimes it's just
and it's still not going to be that good. I'll be honest, because of the amount of time it takes for me to get it that good, my cost would have to increase way out the nose. Whereas eVoto can literally fix 99% of glasses flares, reflections, in 2 seconds. It's not generating an eye. What it's doing is it's literally pulling the pixels from next to it where there's a white spot, essentially from a flash or from the sun. So I use it for that. I do use it sometimes to get rid of flyaways. I don't use it a ton, and I've actually pulled back a lot. There was probably 3 months where I was like, no flyaways on anybody.
When we just got eVoto,
yeah,
you were like,
just got eVoto,
put on that slider.
Pull that slider all the way.
This girl was making everyone's curly hairs. No more curls, girl.
It's straight and it's perfect. And I realized that I didn't like it because it was starting to feel not authentic. It was starting to feel too polished in a way that wasn't real to what it was and was in many ways actually taking away from the beauty. So I've really scaled back, and kind of similarly with wrinkles and stuff. I'll clean up some wrinkles. I will always use a cloning tool to remove pimples. Or we had a wedding where the poor bride was accidentally scratched by her cat the night before. So I used a lot of clone stamping to get rid of that stamp. So again, not even really AI tools, but I do clean those things.
Yeah.
And so by the time we go through all of these processes, though, from the beginning to the end, I mean, you are left with such a beautiful, perfected gallery where we're hoping every image is an image you print. Yeah. Every image is an image you cherish. And every image is an image where you see yourself. And I think that's kind of one of the other big things you want to ask your photographer. You should not be embarrassed to ask your photographer if the photos on their website and other marketing materials are real weddings.
I want to kiss you. That's exactly what I wanted to say. Please ask your photographer what photos are on their portfolio that's a styled shoot. Styled shoots are where a bunch of vendors come together, they get models. Majority of the time they're paid for, and it's perfect conditions. The models have been in front of the camera more than twice. The florals were paid for and beautifully done by someone else, and there's a lot of curated moments. The stress is so much less.
Well, Liffy, why is the stress so much less at a styled shoot?
Because it's not a real wedding, girl.
So what's the difference? There's no timeline, baby. If you want to cut the cake 3 times, cut the cake 3 times.
Yeah.
You can recreate every moment. You can make sure the dip was perfect when you're kissing after the aisle. Yeah. Like you just said, it's all these manufactured moments to create a beautiful image.
And again, hot take, I'm okay with photographers doing style shoots. You need marketing material, especially if you think about planners and stuff like that. Sometimes your clients do not want you to use your material.
Their own
That's
wedding.
fine, I get it. But as a photographer and a videographer, we need to do better at disclaiming when it's a styled shoot, because it's not a real wedding. Our real couples do not see themselves in those photos. And then bonus, please couples, ask photographers and videographers what is a styled shoot and who are the real clients, aka show me a full gallery from beginning to end. If you were wondering, all of our photos and videos on our website and Instagram, social media is real couples. Valerie and I have never done a style shoot. So there's your answer if you were wondering.
Yeah, like you said, there's reasons why people can and should do it, but you and I strongly believe at the bare minimum, it should be clearly labeled so clients can know. And I think similarly to that, we would never use an AI generative image, but God forbid you're going to do that, you better label that on your website. So I know you want to talk a little bit about this Chicago couple or this Chicago photographer who's gotten into hot water.
And I don't want to talk too much about it because I think it's also now creating a lot of anxiety and fear. And I don't want to say fear mongering, but there are photographers, luckily, that is in the industry who's starting to call out other photographers. And this is a conversation I would like to have on another podcast, is whether I want to actually showcase couples more because other photographers are stealing photos and then using AI to swap out the couple itself.
Yeah, so what we're seeing now is photographers are stealing other people's work and then creating generated images, whether they're using total AI or maybe they're stitching together a client they shot in one location onto a different location, but they're creating false advertisement for their own photography services. And we think that's really awful. And I think to your point, not to make people be afraid of booking like a scammy photographer, but at the very least, you shouldn't be afraid to ask.
I want to empower you so that you don't fall into those traps. Because unfortunately, this is what photographers are. There are some of them doing it. I think it's the same thing as a photographer who's brand new in the industry and now is charging $400 for a wedding. You think you're getting a deal. And actually, it's someone who doesn't have the experience and is still learning, which is fine, but they might not be advertising themselves as someone that. It's all coming down to false advertisements, which absolutely suck.
Yeah. And I think you and I feel that in so many ways, in so many industries, right? Again, with AI content and the way people are able to create things that are unrealistic expectations or unrealistic versions. I kind of want to talk for a minute then about when I'm editing, what I don't do. And one thing I never do is like body modification. I'm okay removing a pimple or something that's temporary. I'm not okay with like making you look like you've lost 30 pounds.
So ask a photographer the amount of extensive editing they do. It's okay. Ask it before you pay or book. Don't assume something's going to happen. Don't assume your photographer is going to modify or change certain things just because
that's what you want.
Ask them in your first meeting with them, hey, what are you comfortable with doing? And be truthful with what you want. Like if you want us to modify your body, tell us that in the first meeting because we'll tell you we're body positivity. We don't think we're the right fit for you. So this is what we do. We remove pimples.
We remove some wrinkles. We remove like, it's so funny, but like sometimes people hug their cats or dogs right before our sessions and then they've got fur on them. I'll remove the fur.
Yes. And then also for my people who are transitioning or are in the trans community, there are things that we are willing and able to do to ensure that you feel good with the pictures you get back. So yes, we do.
I would say like gender affirming editing. So for example, I've had clients who maybe didn't have time to do their full makeup. And so they have asked me to do some generative makeup on their photos. And I'm happy to do that to an extent where it still looks natural and pleasant for them. I've also done things where maybe somebody had facial hair and they really didn't want it in their photos. Of course, I'll remove that for them. There is a lot that we can do that still honors and celebrates who you are in the moment, in the body that you're in. I mean, and it's so funny because I think you've really have started going more and more non-binary. And so we talk a lot about posing with our people. And are we posing them more masculine, more feminine, or more androgynous, more non-binary? Are there poses that we like to do with both people? Because again, regardless of maybe your sex or your gender that you express, you might want to be masculine in some moments and feminine in others, strong or soft, you know? So there's a lot with that. I feel like there was something else you wanted to talk about with questions and posing.
You'd be surprised about how many people say the things that I'm going to say now to us. So if you're looking for a photographer, you are not alone in this. This is the average person. How do we pose? Queen, this is so normal. Like, you not knowing how to pose is okay. Like, Say that to your photographer, hey, how do you pose us? Will you help us pose us? We're really stressed. We're going to feel very uncomfortable on the camera. Queen, a great photographer can either A, talk you through their flow of what they would like help you with. What we do is we have conversations beforehand and we just make it feel really good. In fact, we've refined our posing now a little bit to start off with something a bit more flowy, aka a walk or a twirl or whatever, to make feel like you're just going on a stroll.
Helps people get the wiggles out. Helps people get the nerves out.
So please ask that to your photographer and don't be shy. But also, once your photographer has said something, also trust them. I think that's also a hard thing to come over. It's like, okay, we're going to take photos. I promise you, if you do the basic things of making sure you like the photographer's work, looking at a full gallery, meeting with them in real life or virtual call, asking these questions, and then coming to the session with a really excitement, yet you can feel anxious feeling, I promise you're going to have a great experience. You'll end up loving your photos. The big thing is also, for me, is capturing the moments, the photos, but the feeling that you have while and afterwards. It is insane how privileged we are. It's insane how much joy I get from emails and text messages of people saying, oh my God, this is unreal. And I can pull out my phone.
We've got the receipts.
I got receipts of people being so blown away by this is who we are. And the big thing is they see each other. They see themselves in the photos. I don't want you to take photos either. And you're like, is that us? Wow, it's gorgeous. It's amazing. But is it us? Asking your photographer about it is very normal. Yeah.
I would say, generally speaking, you should feel comfortable and confident to ask your photographer or videographer almost anything.
Yeah.
When asked with kindness and with a desire to know, most photographers and videographers should respond in kindness. If you ask a question, your photographer is not kind, probably already a red flag.
Yeah.
But while you should feel comfortable and confident asking your photographer almost anything, what are some questions that you think clients may ask that actually they maybe shouldn't, or they should kind of already know the answer to?
Can I get the raw photo?
Yeah, if you just listen to all of the ways I've edited and you still want a raw photo, baby girl, do I have some news for you. First of all,
luckily, we've only had this once or twice happen to us. We've been very fortunate. But the thing is, it's a file size one that most people can't open it up. You have to have professional photography editing software. We pay $60 a month for it. So times that by year, it's $700 a year. Sure.
You want the raw?
Show me the receipt before I give you the raws. Two, there's metadata attached to that. And the big thing for me as an artist is that we're doing everything we can to ensure that we are capturing and editing your photos in a way that represents you as a person, a human, and then as a couple also. I can't guarantee that when you edit that photo in the same time. And unfortunately, my name is attached to that. It'd be great if you can edit that photo in the style you want and be happy. But the problem also comes now, if you share that photo online, there can be other people who's asking for the same thing, but that's not what I do. And that's also not the
industry standard. Yeah, so I think a big thing is if you look at somebody's work and you don't like the editing style, yeah, you can ask your photographer if they do a different style. There are some photographers who do, but just know that that's probably a good sign for you that that's not the photographer for you.
Please don't ask me to change my style.
We've worked hard to develop Addie's signature style.
Yeah, and I'm even developing it more, like I'm gonna go to a few educational stuff I really wanna do, 2-man. If you don't know what 2-man is, it's incredible. We work really hard.
What are some other questions you think clients probably shouldn't ask their photographer?
Can you be my day of coordinator?
Yeah, it's so funny. Like, we've done a lot of elopements where we have assisted, especially I think before I was shooting.
If it's a small wedding, an elopement, 2 people, like, sure, we become a day of coordinator because there's not a lot of moving pieces. If you're having a full-on wedding, I am not your day of coordinator. I cannot be in the kitchen while they're making food, making sure the cake goes out, the first dances are going, while you have your getting ready photos. Your partner is with their chosen family doing family formals. It's not possible. I'm not a wedding coordinator. not a wedding day planner. We can definitely give you recommendations. We can tell you what other people's done, what we have done. But at the end, I cannot plan your wedding while taking photos and videos. Yeah.
Even sometimes at bigger weddings when there's not a day of coordinator, everybody kind of looks to the photographer like, is it now? Do we walk down the aisle now? And we're like, well, honestly, like you do you, like walk down the aisle when you're ready because we're going to capture it. And to be honest, I need to be down there to capture the best photo, not right here counting you down. So yeah, day of coordinators, highly recommend.
We have a few day of coordinators we can recommend and planners. This one I really want to work with. So like we have those, but those are not our rules. So for our DIY people, just know that
there should be a clear line. And so I guess maybe that's a good question you should ask your photographer is, hey, is there anything you'll do on my wedding day other than take photos and videos?
Yes.
Because if you are a client who's expecting that, it's probably good to have that question done in advance. That's also why you and I have planning calls, because we can sometimes help clients see those gaps in their planning.
Yeah.
Oh, great. You've got a DJ doing the first dances? It's your cousin? Okay. Who's pressing play and who's troubleshooting? Does cousin have a full setup or is cousin bringing his laptop? It can be sometimes very helpful for us to dig a little deeper and help our clients realize.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions you think a client like shouldn't ask their photographer?
That's what I can think of on my top of my head. Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, there's so many things you should ask your photographer. And hopefully most of it's already answered on their website or social media.
All right, so what's the questions to ask?
Can I have the raw files? No, I'm just kidding. Some questions I think you should ask your photographer are your marketing materials reflective of true weddings? And if not, can I see some real weddings? Send me some full galleries of real weddings or elopements that you've shot in the last year.
2, how do you pose as and will you pose as? Can you help us? We've never been in front of a camera.
Number 3, what's your editing process look like? And are you willing to do X, Y, or Z to my body because I want it?
Yeah.
Similar with, are you able to make the sky bright blue even if it is a very rainy day? Having those kinds of questions answered in advance straightforwardly can be really helpful.
How do you feel about different family dynamics? Bring up chosen family. Also, pronouns. If they didn't say their pronouns, ask them, why didn't you ask our pronouns? Be a bit loud about that. And the last one, money. Talk to them about money. Ask them, hey, we have a budget. We have started having this conversation more with our clients. It's really important in this economy. Talk about why things cost the way they do and just sit down and be honest with each other.
Yeah, I think one final note I want to mention about pricing is I do believe that artists should be paid for their work. I mean, you and I have a lot of time, energy, effort, and money into this business.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
I did maths. If we charged $1,000 for an 8-hour wedding and I didn't include our prepping time,
Okay.
just editing and being there, how much do you think we pay ourselves?
It's nothing. I'm telling you, it's like $10 an hour.
It's $10 an hour.
Could you imagine booking a photographer for $10 an hour?
Yeah. So in any case, I did the math actually. I was curious because we always talk about how we can get.
We wish we could be cheaper and still live a life. Like, I'm like, do I even want to say live comfortably? Because like, I just want health insurance and to feed our babies, like our cats. Can we feed our cats and ourselves and have health insurance? Okay, then I guess like we're happy. If you have a dream photographer or videographer, let them know that. Let them know that they are your dream and that you love their work and that you can only afford X amount. Let them know why, because you have different priorities or maybe a lower salary. And then see what they might be able to customize for you so that way they can still be there to celebrate your special moments without breaking your bank. And with that, I think that's all the questions.
If you've made it so far to this podcast to where you actually hear me say thank you for listening, you're amazing. If you haven't followed us on Instagram yet, please do. I know we say it at the end, but our Instagram handle is Love Studios. Follow us on Pinterest for amazing inspiration. Go on YouTube, comment what you loved about it, and generally just slide into our comments and say hi. We would love to hear more your thoughts, your voices, and your opinions.
Thanks again for joining us. We love y'all. Bye.
Bye. Thanks so much for hanging out with us today, and hopefully you've learned something.
Yeah, if something really stuck with you today, please consider sharing it with another photographer, videographer, creative. Make sure you hit follow and consider leaving us a review.
And if you love this chaos, please ensure that you follow us on Instagram at HeyLoveStudio. This is where we share our BTS, our beautiful queer love, and other couples, and we would love to see you there.
Until next time, keep creating
Keep celebrating.
and know that, hey, love, we got you.